In today's bonus episode, I'm chatting about the upcoming Bamboozle and Adjacent festivals hitting New Jersey this spring. Welcome to the Eat, Sleep, Breathe Music podcast. I'm your host, Jeanette Kimzel, blogger and music enthusiast. Let's get started with today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Sleep, Breathe Music podcast. I'm your host, Jeanette Kimzel. For those of you just joining us, this is the podcast where I talk about different musicians and how their music affects me, and then I play a track of theirs for you to listen to. But today I'm doing something a little different. It's going to be a bonus episode of sorts. What prompted this whole thing was I had bought some concert tickets yesterday. I wanted to see Fall Out Boy, and I saw that they had a pre-sale. So I was like, oh, because of course there were no ticket prices until after the pre-sale happens. And so I was able to get the pre-sale code. And then I was online and I don't know what it is. Like, I like Fall Out Boy. I saw them at the Hella Mega Festival and I thought they were really good. And it was all like nostalgia. So I was like, I don't know how often they're going to be going on tour. I like the new song they put out. I like their old music. I don't know. There's just something I love about them. Like, it's like good memories, good music. And I think also like they had played a really good show last time, because the first time I saw them, they were kind of like meh. And then, this time it was a really great show. And this year they're playing a venue called PNC, which is kind of like an amphitheater. The cool thing about PNC is that there's lawn seats. So even if, say, you want to go to the concert and you don't want to pay a bunch, you can get the lawn seats. You can bring a blanket. They rent chairs now. They used to let you bring your own chairs, but I guess maybe it got out of hand. So now they're renting chairs. Also, it's another way to make money, So basically, yeah, the venue, I don't love the venue, but it's better than having to go to like Madison Square Garden, because I don't know why I'm not into like going to big arenas anymore. So I was excited and I was like, let me see what's going on with the ticket prices and how crazy they are. So expensive. The 400 section, or maybe it was 300 section. 300 section was going for like $167. That's including all Ticketmaster fees. And then I kept clicking things and everything was disappearing. And I'm like, this is just insane. It wasn't as bad as that whole Taylor Swift debacle, it wasn't like you were in a queue of 2,000 people and never getting anywhere, but like it was still like, like you would click on something and then it would be gone. You'd click on something and then it'd be gone. And I don't know why, but I have this thing where it's like you want to try and get as close as possible because it's just better, but it's expensive. So, it's like one of those things where it's like, well, how much do I like this artist, or how badly I want to go, and is it worth the price? And and then now they have these like premium tickets, not VIP. All the seats in the 100 section are now considered these like official platinum seats by Ticketmaster. And basically an official platinum seat says that they're premium tickets to concerts made available by artists and event organizers. It's great that they want to do this, but at the same time, it seems like everything is just so expensive. And it's probably because everything's expensive now and people want to get paid, and that's understandable. The artists should get paid for their time and their energy, and it takes a lot of people to put together these shows sometimes, and those people have to get paid, and then they have to pay the crew, and they have to pay for gas and traveling expenses. And so, of course, when everything's expensive, like tours are going to get more expensive. It's understandable, but it's also kind of like very frustrating because, we have Ticketmaster, which is a monopoly. I was looking today to see what the ticket prices were because I was wondering if they were already all sold out or already, doing reseller tickets, because usually that's what happens. People buy all the tickets and then they resell them. And it's so weird because I see here that there's section 300 going for $295. And it says it's official platinum seat, but that's not anywhere near the front of the venue. So I don't understand that at all. And then they do have something that's, if you want to get lawn seats, you can get a 4-pack for like the price of 3. And those actually aren't bad. They're like $35. So, I mean, that's the nice thing is like at least this venue has an alternative if you don't want to pay expensive prices. It's just interesting. These official platinum seats, I guess it's something the band, looking at this website, it looks like it's the band that kind of helps to coordinate these. But, it's just so frustrating because Ticketmaster is like the only thing out there. These artists, they can't do anything. You either have to work with them or, the venues have to work with them. They own everything. And then also, I remember one year I think it was Nine Inch Nails had done a concert and they didn't want to have to deal with Ticketmaster. So they had people line up at Radio City. And I know because my husband went, he got there like super early. He waited in line. It was so 90s. I remember that was the thing. You would go to a record store. You would go before it opened. You would get in line. Then you would get a wristband. And then you would find out if you were able to get good tickets based on the wristband. And I don't know if that would work nowadays because, we're so used to just being able to like get things online. And it's nice getting things online. It's nice being able to not go anywhere and get concert tickets. I wonder if the monopoly of Ticketmaster will ever be broken up. That's just my rant. That's just my rant for this week because with it being January, it's a new year and there's a lot of shows, a lot of concerts and a lot of festivals that are already, their lineups have been announced. And I see that the Stone Pony has been promoting shows for their summer stage already. They've got Youngblood coming. They've got Frank Turner and the Interrupters. And they've got, I think, Young the Giant, which actually was pretty cool because that was an artist that we had featured. I think we did like a Rocking Under the Radar feature on them like back in 2010. So that's pretty neat. And it's going to be an expensive summer. It's going to be an expensive time. And I've just been trying to figure out like what to do because there's also the festivals that you want to travel to. How expensive is it going to be? Sometimes you have to pick and choose. We're lucky being in New Jersey. I feel like very lucky being so close to Asbury and all the music there. And there's 3 festivals that are happening here in New Jersey this summer. And those festivals are expensive. Well, the See Here Now festival hasn't been announced yet. That's actually, their lineup is going to be announced next week, I think, February 7th. So it's just a lot of stuff going on. And speaking of the other festivals that are happening in New Jersey, there are 2 that are happening like about 2 weeks apart from each other in Atlantic City. One is the Adjacent Festival, and that's on May 27th, which is Memorial Day weekend. And then the other one is Bamboozle, and that's 2 weeks before on May 5th to May 7th. Both of them are in Atlantic City. Bamboozle is being held at Bader Field, and Adjacent Festival is going to be on the beach, which I'm wondering if it's similar to what the Warped Tour 25th anniversary did back in 2019. And that was a fun show. There's something just really special about seeing music on the beach. Before that, the first time I had been to a concert on the beach was Bamboozle 2012. And I don't remember ever seeing any other concerts in Asbury on the beach because they would do the Warped Tour there, but I feel like it was always in the parking lot. It was never on the beach. I remember people swimming in the ocean at the Warped Tour. I don't remember the bands ever playing on the beach before See Here Now or Bamboozle. There's just something really relaxing about like listening to music while you're sitting on the sand. So I wonder if the Adjacent Festival will be similar to the Warped Tour setup or if, I'm sure it'll be different because it's a different festival, but in the same vicinity as where the Warped Tour was. And as I said, Bamboozle will be in Bader Field this year. It is an old airport that now houses different festivals throughout the year. It's kind of a shame that it can't come back to Asbury. And I didn't realize at the time that there are specific reasons why it's not, why Bamboozle isn't going to be in Asbury. It's kind of a shame that it's not going to be in Asbury. It seemed like a success back in 2012 when they had it on the beach. And I wonder, too, if that was even what inspired the idea for See Here Now. That's been a really successful, it's been going on for the last couple years and it seems to be getting bigger. And it's surprising that people are coming from like other states to see this festival. Last year, we met some people from Maryland and we were like, whoa, like this thing is big and people are coming just to do the festival. It's a fun thing to do in the summer or at the end of the summer, but it's neat that it's growing. And so it is kind of a bummer that Bamboozle can't be in Asbury this year. And I didn't know at the time, but there is a specific reason why that is the case. And after researching and looking up the festival information, I found out that there was a break between the creator, John D'Esposito, and Live Nation and House of Blues. They had creative differences that happened at the end of the festival in 2012. And then D'Esposito announced that he was no longer a part of the festival. I don't remember hearing anything about this, but I was in school at the time. And I think I was just kind of like, for 2 years, just like all about, nutrition. And I didn't have anything else really happening outside of just going to school. So what happened is that Live Nation had gotten most of the stake in the festival. And, we didn't hear anything about Bamboozle for years. I don't remember ever hearing anything after the 2012 show. And we don't really know if Live Nation was planning on doing anything with it. It seemed like they just shelved the festival and kind of forgot about it. And it turns out that the trademark for it actually expired And that's kind of how D'Esposito was able to get the rights back to the festival. There was an article in the app.com. The article had quoted D'Esposito saying he was begging Live Nation to do this thing, and he's like, come on. And then he called his lawyer, and he found out that Live Nation had abandoned the trademark. And then he had to pay like $885 to have the festival again because Live Nation had let it expire. So once Esposito had the festival in his hands, he started planning the rebirth of Bamboozle. And that was also, I think, when we started getting these teaser promotions and you saw articles in all the music outlets talking about the rebirth of Bamboozle and how Bamboozle was coming back in 2 years. And it was all this nostalgia and everyone was so excited to see Bamboozle, but it was still 2 years away. So we went on with our lives and waited patiently to hear updates about the festival. Then on Tuesday, October 25th, 2002, we get news of this new festival, the Adjacent Festival, happening in New Jersey. And it may not seem like a big deal because new festivals are popping up all the time. However, the interesting and quite coincidental thing of this particular festival is that it is in Atlantic City 2 weeks after Bamboozle, and it was also a Ticketmaster show, which I thought was interesting. And I was curious who was putting this event on, so I went to their website and I couldn't find anything. There was nothing. Like, it was surprising to me that there was no information on the company that was putting this festival together. I mean, I was also interested because I thought maybe it would be something, you know, you could get press access or inquire about getting press access. Because sometimes with new festivals, it's a little bit easier to get press access to the show. Like, I remember one time I had gotten access to the Catalpa Festival in New York that had happened because it was a newer show. And I was really like, I was like, maybe this would be something fun to try and cover. But I got no information. I don't even think there was a contact on the website. And I haven't looked back since because I figured it was like, you know, a big shot in the dark to get a press access to the show. But I just feel like the whole thing is just very strange. And I wonder if this is like an FU to Bamboozle, you know, like, are they doing this out of spite or is it a coincidence? Because it is a Ticketmaster show and it just seems kind of weird. And it sucks because the lineup is so good. You know, you look at the bands and it's a lot of stuff that was at like Bamboozle. The lineup gets you pumped and then you look at the prices and you're like, oh, do I want to spend $400 on a 2-day festival? Or $800 in my case, because I would be going with my husband. And then, you know, that doesn't even include food and lodging. I mean, we live close enough that we could drive down there each day, but then we have to pay for parking. And that's money too. And then, you know, like, it's just like all these fees add up. And it's 2 days. And I'm trying to remember what we paid for the Warped Tour in 2019. And I feel like it was $400 for 2 tickets. And I remember thinking that was really expensive and I didn't know if we should go. And I was like saying to my husband, I'm like, this is a lot of money. Maybe we shouldn't go to this. And that was still when we were going to a lot of concerts because it was before COVID. And, you know, we wound up going because the lineup was great and it was like a ton of bands that we wanted to see and that weren't really playing in a while. And we had a great time and we were really happy that we went. So now I'm having this like FOMO for this Adjacent Festival thinking, how often are these bands going to play? Blink-182 and Paramore are on tour right now, but how long are they going to be on tour? Are they going to be playing forever together? Probably not. And it's just terrible, like this feeling of like missing out and like wanting to go to these shows. But I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous how expensive these things are getting. I'm just curious who the demographic is for these prices because I've talked to all my friends and everyone seems to be outraged at these prices. I have friends who are huge fans of these musicians and they can't justify paying $400 for a ticket. And Bamboozle, their prices aren't really much better. I mean, the one thing at least that you can say about Bamboozle is that it's a 3-day festival. It's not just 2 days. So you figure the money that you're spending, you're getting an extra day out of it. So, you know, you can spend $700 for 2 people and you'll get 3 days of music. So, I mean, you know, in that respect, it is better. And that's the thing I don't understand now with like all these festivals, they're coming out as just 2-day festivals. It's nice because yes, you don't have to take off of work. You don't have to take an extra day off. I remember we went to Lollapalooza. We had to take time off, not only because we had to fly there, but because, you know, the festival was 3 days it started on a Friday and you have to take off of work. So it is nice that there's like that just weekend festival that you can not have to take off work for. Although if you're flying in and you're staying there, you will have to take off anyway. So you're getting a little bit more for your money with Bamboozle, though depending on your taste in music and the bands you like, you may not want to go to Bamboozle at all. You may not feel like any of... I thought the lineup wasn't bad. I know a lot of people are still kind of pissed off because they haven't announced all the headliners. There's still a lot of stuff grayed out, and a lot of people are pissed off because they felt like the lineup was not meeting their expectations of the bands that they thought they were going to play, but there's still a lot of good artists on that lineup. Somehow I missed all of the information about Bamboozle and the initial lineup announcements. I can't really remember Bamboozle. I remember seeing the announcement for Adjacent Festival, thinking it was a really great show, and then that it was really expensive. And I can't believe that was just November because it seems like so much longer ago. And I don't remember hearing about Bamboozle or anything in November, but I don't go on social media a lot, so I am a little out of the loop with things. I think we randomly had the radio station on in the car one day and they had an announcement for Bamboozle, and I was like, oh, this lineup sounds good too. And I mean, everybody has their own preference when it comes to music, and but hey, you never know. There could be some artist announcements that you would be really psyched over. Just going back to Adjacent Festival, if Bamboozle had intended to get some of the artists that are playing Adjacent Festival and they weren't able to, and if that's the case, that's a real bummer. And it seems like there is a little bit of a, not like a feud going on, but you look at like I decided to go onto social media to see like what was happening with all of this stuff, just to see if there was more information about Bamboozle's lineup, and I was scrolling back and there's like a little bit of a passive aggressive little Bamboozle versus Adjacent Festival, and even people have been making memes, and it's hard to compare the two because they're different festivals. I mean, Adjacent Festival is brand new and we don't really know what it's doing, and Bamboozle has this whole history and legacy, and it's a mishmash, and it's always been a mishmash of music, and it's kind of cool because you can find new artists. You can find new artists that maybe, you didn't listen to, and that's the best thing about music festivals in general, is there's so many new artists that you can find. I remember a lot of people weren't really into the lineup last year at See Here Now. People were like complaining about it, or they were like, it doesn't make any sense, but it was a good show, and I found a lot of new bands. We saw Idols and we saw Wet Leg, and they both put on a good show, and now we found new music to listen to. So I wouldn't disregard Bamboozle yet. I'm interested to see what's behind those grayed out names on the lineup. It'll be interesting to see who winds up headlining the show. At this point, I don't know what I'm going to do. I almost wish that these shows were later in the summer, because then at least you could plan them around other things. That's the problem. There's so many concerts that haven't been announced yet. We got to figure out what we're doing pretty soon, though, because it's already February. I'd love to know what you think. What are your thoughts about this whole thing? Do you think that it was just coincidence, or you think it was something that was intended to be and it was kind of like a manipulative tactic? Are you going to Adjacent Fest, or are you going to Bamboozle? Are there any other shows that you're psyched about seeing this year? You can tell me in a comment on the podcast webpage. You can also leave an audio comment at the link in the episode summary, or if you want to email me, you can send me an email at Jeanette@eatsleepbreathemusic.com. For more information on Adjacent and Bamboozle festivals, you can check out their official websites. That's www.bamboozlefestival.com and www.adjacentfestival.com. And I'll leave links to these in the show notes for your convenience. And I wanted to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening to the Eat, Sleep, Breathe Music podcast. To find new music and learn more about what we do, you can check out our website at www.eatsleepbreathemusic.com.